Boston, Massachusetts has turned out dozens of rock bands over the last 50 years, including heavy hitters like Aerosmith, The Cars, Boston, Jay Giles Band, and Extreme. Including in this list are hometown favorites, the Dropkick Murphys, Pixies, Mighty Mighty Bosstones, and Dinosaur Jr. Dig a little deeper and you have the likes of Buffalo Tom, Guster, Belly, Treat Her Right, and John Butcher Axis. Another Boston band that grew a large local following with some national attention was O Positive. Between their beginnings in 1983 to when they left the scene in 1995, they grew their audience through their many live shows and music releases with support from local radio, college radio, Newbury Comics, and MTV. Their live shows, notably at the Paradise Theater in Boston, were known for their energy and spark that kept their fans coming back for more and never leaving disappointed. In a Rock Cave deep dive, as a fan myself, I was excited to sit down with guitarist, keyboardist, and instrument wizard Alan Petitti to talk about that time with the band. Tune in to find out more here in the Rock Cave. To Alan Petitti. He is from O Positive, and as I said in the intro, I am honored and super excited to have you on the show today for all the reasons I just mentioned, which is I am a huge fan. I've been a huge fan for a long time. We connected just this summer on YouTube. You commented on the episode about you guys, and I was like super excited, and we ended up just connecting in that way. And so I am happy and honored to have you here on the show today. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you, Mark. And I was going to say, you said I am, and I said, you are Mark Pierce from the Rock Cave.
That's right.
Like I said, I've seen the Rock Cave before, and one day I saw the episode you did about O Positive and went, wow. And I let my nephew Sam, that does all the promotion for me, know. And he goes, oh, we should get a hold of Mark. And suddenly you were getting a hold of us.
Right. We both had the same idea at the same time.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
All right. So we're talking about your band, O Positive. We're going to go through it. But tell me a little bit about the beginnings, how you how that came to be and how you got started, and let's go from there.
Okay. It started, just started from loving music. I played in cover bands before. I had a cover band in high school playing Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith. And actually, I was a drummer. Then I just liked instruments, and I started getting more into guitar and playing guitar. And then in my early 20s, I started making up my own songs and wanted to write my own music. And I had a home studio in the basement. My brother owned a triple decker that I lived in, and I used the basement and built a room down there to rehearse, and a control room with a 4-track studio with a big window and everything in it, and just had fun. Friends over, jamming, having parties. We used to have a band together we called it the Beatles Band. We played all Beatles songs because we loved Beatles. But one day I got a call from Alex Loeb. He's the drummer from O Positive, and he called me saying, hey, Alan, I wanted to know if you would like to get together and jam. Alex is a little bit younger than me, I think 4 or 5 years younger. And he had been getting into playing drums. And his older brother, which I was very good friend with, a bass player named John Loeb, said to him, hey, you should call Alan Petitti. He's a good musician, and see if he'll jam. So Alex called me and said that. And I said, well, you know what, Alex? I said, I've been working on songs and making up my own music. And I won't really be interested in necessarily getting together to jam, but I would love it if you come over. He said he would also, if he comes over to jam, he would bring Dave Ingham, which is the bass player from O Positive. So this is before the band ever has to happen. And I said, I'd rather have you guys come over and I show you my songs, bass lines, drum beats and stuff. And I'd like to see what it sounds like, the band playing them. So that would be fun. He went, yes. So he told Dave Ingham, and they came over and we got together and we didn't jam. Maybe we jammed on the song a little bit once we started doing stuff. And I turned on my little 4-track cassette recorder and listened to it. We had a lot of fun. That night after everyone was gone, I was listening to the recording on. So I called Alex and told him it was a bit sloppy, but I like what I'm hearing. Would you and Dave want to get together with me, like once or at least maybe twice a week, and work on these songs? I said, we can work on it. If it develops and it gets good enough, then I'll get us a gig and we can call ourselves a band. We'll name the band and get a gig. If we just never get any better, then we'll just say, oh, well, yeah, fine. So that was our project. We started getting together. We would always say, Originals Band. We're getting together with the Originals Band. We didn't have a name, just to work on this band. And we did it. And as well, I had a very close friend, Dave Herlihy, which is a singer from O Positive, also guitar player. And he was in the process of working on a band that he was putting together called Chapter 12. And he's working on his band, but Dave and I would always get together, just get in my basement, just make up stuff, jam around, do things. And so I tell him, you know, I got these guys, Alex Loeb and Dave Ingham, coming over regularly, and we're trying to form a band, and we're just going to keep on working on it. And if we get good enough, we'll get a gig. And you should come over and check it out. He's like, yeah, sure. So I said, when you come over, bring your guitar. So he brought his guitar and his amp. And after we had been doing this for a while, he started coming over once in a while. He wasn't there all the time. And playing. And sometime I would have a new song, but I'd have melodies or lyrics. And I said, well, it's kind of fresh, Dave. Why don't you try singing? So we did that for almost a year, at least 3/4 of a year or so, and developed these songs to a point where we had about 12 songs. And I sang half of them and Dave sang half of them when we made them up. When Dave was there, we had about 12 songs we could play. Without him, we had maybe 6 or 8. And finally, as we approached that 12 songs, I said, this is, to me, it's good enough to play out in the club. So I said, but we don't have enough material on our own to do this. So I asked Dave, I said, Dave, with you, we have 12 songs. Without you, we got to work harder and gain more songs to play a gig. But I'd like to do a gig now. Would you play live with us? And he said, yes. So we did that. We kept rehearsing and I got us gigs. The first gig we ever had was Chet's Last Call. And I didn't know how to do this. I started calling clubs and trying to figure out what to do, who to talk to, this club, that club. Oh, let's see if we can get in the Rat. Oh, that was far off.
Right.
And build up. So we did that and we had a lot of fun. And we started progressing. Everyone started getting in tune with each other. And just before we had the first gig, we said, we're going to do this. We need to get a name. So we would all be at the rehearsals just, how about the band without a name? One time, David Early and I were driving down Storrow Drive, and we were shooting out names to each other. And I had this idea of a blood type. And I was going to say, how about a blood type? But I know James, he's savvy and quick with words, and he would say the name of this blood type and we would like it. Then I would say, oh, then he'll say, oh, I named the band. So I said, I better think of one. And I looked at him, I said, how about type A? And he went, how about O positive? Now you tell me which one stuck.
Exactly right.
Well, we worked good together and we started playing, and that's where it all started. Actually, I think you could say that Alex Lowe was the one that planted the seed that made it grew into this. He didn't have the idea of starting a band. But he pulled this thing together for me to say, I'm liking this. Dave Ingham played my Rickenbacker bass, and I had a bass amp. I had a PA and mics, and I had my amps and I had some keyboards. And Dave would bring over his little Marshall amp and his guitar, and we'd sing, and so everything was there. You know, it was real easy to rehearse. We didn't have to rent a space, and we had a lot of fun.
So that was around like 1983, 84-ish. And then how did you guys went to the Rumble in 85, right?
Well, actually, it was like 82, I think, because we were doing this in the basement.
Okay.
83, I think in February was the first gig at Chet's Last Call.
Okay.
So I think it's 83 when we first played. It was a while before we did an album, but yeah, we played the Rumble. We were getting shit together. We were starting to sound like O Positive, like we worked together. And we played the Rumble, and we were excited. And I think Down Avenue won that year.
Yeah, that was 1985. But for those people out there who don't know what the Rumble is, it basically was called Battle of the Bands in Boston, but it would change to Rumble. And Till Tuesday won in 1983,
Right.
FYI. But yeah, so you guys were like that, slowly progressing up as getting known to be a live act to see around the area. So how did your EPs come together?
The EP, I think we were about 2 years, maybe just a little, about 2 years or so into it. And I remember we were getting some stuff pretty good together. At this point, Dave wasn't working on his band that he was trying to put together before Chapter 12. So he was putting full energy into what we were doing, Go Positive. And we were developing our styles and what we were doing. And I think it was Dave said, we need an album. We need an album. Because we had some demo tapes and some college radio play. But we need an album. And he was right. And so we started getting our thoughts together, what we would record. And Dave found us Will Garrett, which produced for us. And we went to, I forgot what the first studio we went to, but then we went to Synchro Sound. And he said, get the Synchro Sound, the car studio. We'll take the midnight shift, the cheaper, and we'll work till 4 a.m.
Right.
We did that. And we went in and recorded these songs on the first EP, Only Breathing. So it was just a 5-song EP. And that was the first one. It took almost like 2 years, almost 3 years before we did a second EP. So we were kind of slow on doing this, but both of them did well. In particular, the first EP, FNX, was great with us. They had our demo of With You from 4-track, and they weren't playing it. We were getting some college radio play, and our 4-track that I did in my basement was pretty good, but they weren't playing it. I remember one time calling up. They said, well, it doesn't really have much of a hook. And so I'm like, it's Smoke a Cigarette. Dun, 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 dun. I think it's got a hook. And the bass line's a hook. And I'm like, oh. And then college radio started playing it more. And one day we got a call from FNX. And they said to me, I picked the phone, and they said, yeah, this is so-and-so from FNX. We're wondering, how do we get a hold of your demo? We'd like to play it. I said, well, we already gave it to you. I said, that's all right. So Dave and down to Lynn that night and gave it to them. And they started playing our demo. Then when the album came out, Bruce McDonald was there by then. Bruce McDonald was a big support of ours. He loved the band and gave us so much support, got us into regular rotation with You and Up, Up, Up on WFNX. And that just, our gig started happening. When we got into the Paradise, we had the first gig. Second gig, it was like our gig. It wasn't opening for someone. And then we were selling out the Paradise. It was like, woo. So it was happening really good. So a lot of credit to Bruce McDonald from FNX he did great with all kinds of music, but he really helped us take off and get the wind in our sails so people knew who we were.
Yeah, I mean, your live shows were starting to get great attention, and that's what's word of mouth, and people in the Boston area were talking about you, and that's how you started gaining steam. And then you got some local radio support, which is amazing and huge. And then Cloud Factory in '87, right?
Yeah, you're probably the year because I had to look at the album to see. But yeah, about actually, you got a picture of me on there. We were in a warehouse taking pictures, and Mark Alcross took that picture. Yeah, but that album, and that did really well. We had Talk About Love, which was getting, FNX was like, they played it in the morning shift, they played it at lunchtime, they played it in the midday, and they played it in the evening. I'm like, they're playing this 5 times a day.
Right.
I'm like, holy shit, this is really nice. I mean, we be on the stage, and it starts with a guitar riff of 5 bars, and then we always did it couldn't be 4 bars. 5 bars, and I'm going dun dun dun, and boom, the audience starts yelling as soon as you do that because they recognized it because it did really well.
And you had the support of Newberry Comics too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was nice. We're down Newberry Comics and seeing our own bin. Oh, positive. Oh, look, we've got our own bin. Here's Led Zeppelin. Here's the Beatles. Here's Oh, positive.